All right guys, welcome back to the Monster Bass channel. I'm Josh from Bennett Fishing. Today we're going to be talking about something that I first started using when I first started ice fishing that I haven't used in a while, but Monster Bass just sent me one from Sitka, and it's actually what's called a spring bobber. And I'm going to show you guys how to use it, when to use it, why we should be using it, especially for new ice fishermen that are just getting into the sport. It's a really great tool for people that don't have that feel for like a little tiny perch bite or a bluegill bite. Or they wear monster gloves like I do and have cheap rods and you can't feel the bite. So let's show you guys how to set one up. Let's try to get some fish on the ice. Let's show you guys this Sitka spring bobber. Show you guys how to use it real quick. And that's my pup copper in the background. He's wandering around. If you see him wandering too far, just let me know. So I'll show you my rod setup. This is the Shakespeare Wild Series. And this is a medium heavy rod. This is basically my lake trout rod. So it is way too heavy for a panfish. Way too heavy to feel panfish bite. So any perch, some bass will hit hard enough, not always. They're pretty lethargic during the winter time. So what we want to do is we want to cut our jig off, whatever we're using at the time, and pull our line back at least one eyelet. Then we're going to open up our spring bobber, which I've opened because I used one yesterday. And they basically last forever unless you lose them down the ice, which I've done before by accident. And how these work is they have a piece of foam on the back and basically another eyelet on the end there. Hopefully focus on that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze that foam and we're going to stick it into the end of the rod here, just the eyelet. Basically like a earplug kind of style foam. Squeeze that in there as much as we can, so it's nice and tight. And I like to stick it in as far as probably like halfway. Get it in there nice and good, basically. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna restring the rod. So open up your bail or click your reel open in my case. And we're gonna thread that line back through that little spring bobber. Just like that. And so what this spring bobber is going to do is it allow you to detect even just the slightest little bite. And that's great for either new fishermen or really finicky fish. Like crappie can be really finicky, bluegill can be really finicky. They can suck that jig in and spit it right back out before you even notice. So this has turned a $30 lake trout rod basically into something that's more like a tickle stick that has a very sensitive tip. So this is like I think a tickle stick's like 60 or 70 bucks. So this has basically a built-in spring bobber right on the end of it. So it's super sensitive all by itself, but it does have some backbone. I have caught Lakers on it. It's just not the best for really setting a hook on like a bigger jig. So we don't use the tickle stick for that. So this spring bobber is a really good tool for those stiffer, shorter ice fishing rods, usually the cheaper ones like I like to buy because I'm rough with my equipment and I break stuff. And we're gonna basically try to jig with a plastic and a little tiny jig. So we're gonna start with that Scandia glow jig, and we're either gonna tip it with a worm or we're gonna tip it with a plastic. We'll see what the fish are thinking today. And tie it on however you feel like the best knot is. I like the polymer knot if you can get it through the eyelet. If not, just a normal fisherman's knot or a clinch knot will work best. But I want to show you guys this spring bobber in action. And I use anywhere between 4 to 6 pound test for panfish. 4 is pretty much good enough for most things, unless you have either pike or a lot of pickerel that like to bite you off. We're going to use Bass Reaper little mousy plastic, and we're just going to tip that jig real quick. And I'll show you when it's done. It's hard to show. But that's the setup. That tail will kind of straighten out when it gets down there. Let's plop down there, see if we can catch some fish. The whole concept of the spring bobber is to feel even the slightest little bite. So even my heartbeat is making it move. So it's standing right there, and it's just the slightest little bite from anything. That will go down, and when you set the hook, your rod is doing the rest of the work. That'll just cave in, and you'll be able to set the hook quick. All right, so we got fish on the screen. Got him. Do you guys see that? A little spring bobber action right there. And it's not a monster bass, but it's a bass for sure, guys. Pinned him right in the top of the mouth, like there. That's why I was being so finicky. Little largy. Let's get back down there and do that again. So this spring bobber is actually length adjustable. You can actually just push the metal rod, and this is probably basically just spring steel, or some of them are just like stainless steel, basically. And I have a whole bunch of fish down there right now. I'm gonna mark this spot. This jig is so small I can barely see it. And sometimes what I'll do, I'll just dead stick the rod like that. And hope you guys can see that against my chest there, so it's right there. Usually what happens with the dead stick technique and the spring bobber is once you drop that down there, the line's spiraling down on the way down there, and so the jig is sitting there spinning. They really do not like that. So the dead stick technique lets it spin naturally and stop. And then you can just jig it by hand, obviously. And then some perch, they just like the dead stick. They just like it to be there, for them easy to eat. Like, they won't even bother chasing sometimes, unless they're really fired up. Ooh! All right, guys, there's a fired up fish down there for sure. Oh, it's coming up right now. Watch. Ugh, missed him. Pulled it out of his mouth. These guys are super light biting right now. There we go. Hope you guys saw that. That is the huge advantage to a spring bobber. What is this? Oh, yeah, that's why. Remember when I was saying about little bluegill? Sunfish in this case? They just barely inhale that in there. And it's super hard to feel. And I got cold hands. But that spring bobber is super easy to see. That's how you catch any fish, basically. This is why you guys should be using a spring bobber for finicky fish. If you're a new ice fish, see right there, I just missed one. Finicky fish, people that have like less sensitivity in their hands, or a really cheap rod like mine, like this is made for Lakers, it's super stiff, but as soon as you put that spring bobber on there, you can see even the smallest fish. And this is a little bit bigger, I'm not sure what this is. But if you want to get your Sitka spring bobber, like the one I'm using, there'll be a link below, and it's also in the January Monster Bass kit, of course. So they're a fantastic tool. I learned to ice fish with them. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the how-to video.